Well, hello everybody, good afternoon, and welcome to your afternoon rabble here on the Rabble Network. Slightly later than scheduled. We can only offer up our apologies for that. Martin has had an issue that he has had to go away and deal with, hence why the show has ended up being late, and hence why you have got me in the hosting chair this afternoon, as it was obviously supposed to be Martin and Alan, but Martin does send his humble apologies. Joining me this afternoon, I have Alan. Alan, how are you doing?
Doing all right, mate. Aye. Hope everybody's having a good Tuesday afternoon. How's yourself, Connor?
Aye, not bad. I was just chillaxing, enjoying my day off work, and then
Ruined,
the back signal to put it. You know what I mean? But hey ho, here we are. It's half an hour out of my day. I'm sure I'll be fine. A lot of people straight in as well. Jordy, Martin stopped tweezing his eyebrows, but I mean, I don't. I can honestly say, Alan, I've never had any work done on my eyebrows in my life, so I wouldn't know anything about that.
You've never had them done to the barbers, no?
Nah. No, not by choice. He did do it once, but he never really asked me. He just sort of went.
You felt violated or not?
Well, apparently, I thought he'd taken them clean off, to be perfectly honest with you, but thankfully
I didn't. I get worried with that. No, I always get eyebrows because I'm at that age now. I've got a big, long, old man sort of thing poking out, and it's about 2 inches long. So I get eyebrows done. I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Afternoon handyman who's in there. Afternoon maestro, Phil, Stuart, Balmer, William. After evening singing was we were late singing. No, that late. It was about 45 minutes. It is very much still the afternoon. At least I hope it is, because I don't need my day off flying in any quicker than they already do in the first place. But hey, we'll get started then. Any questions you guys have got, put them in. I know there was a couple of them missed yesterday. In my defence, I wasn't technically hosting that show yesterday. Martin was, and then Martin dipped out midway through, and Willie Irvin eventually came in. So don't blame me for those questions being missed, is what I'm saying. That's Martin's fault. Alan, obviously last night the guys were on for the transfer window closing on deadline day. It was a busy deadline day, I think, across the board, across British football. It was a busy day. There was loads of goings on, but particularly for Rangers, 2 in, 1 out. Firstly, on that itself, were you surprised there wasn't more done, given that there seemed to be the feeling that there might have been another last-minute signing come in the door as well? That obviously didn't materialise because Cornelius and Chermiti were kind of, we knew they were done very early on in the day yesterday.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of the things, Connor. Isn't it? It's like you're always expecting something, but I think that's what people are saying in the comments. I'm a bit worried we're a wee bit light at left back. Obviously, the young boy, what's his name, Magoma. I don't know, he's young, inexperienced. The has looked all right. I know we're saying this Cornelius guy can play left back as well, but he's not a proper out and out left back, is he? We're going to go through the whole up until January now with one out and out left back, which is a bit troubling. But I suppose everybody's getting on at the new boy for £8 million. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm a bit shocked at the amount of money we've spent on him. But as we've all said before with these type of things, it's not the guy's fault, is it? He doesn't turn around and say, "I'll go to Rangers, but I only want to go for £8 million." But it's a big burden to carry that on your shoulders. These things. I mean, look at Danilo. That's what everybody thinks about Danilo, don't they? They think, well, Danilo, £6 million, and he's done hee-haw. He's been injured. He's not really scored a lot of goals, and that's a big albatross around your neck, I think, isn't it? If you're getting spent for that amount of money. But we can only see him, and let's hope the guy's going to be absolutely fantastic. But I'm just a wee bit worried that he's quite young, injury prone, and we've spent £8 million on him. I'm not being ultra negative. I just think when you look at these things across the board, you're looking for some experience to get brought in. And I'm not really seeing a lot of that, mate. And all the how many have we signed? 12 players. Is it 12 players that have come in?
I believe so. It's something in that region. It's a lot. It's a big turnaround.
If you look at them, where's the experience coming from? I mean, you're not even half them, maybe, considering their age. Maybe Rothwell. I don't know, mate. I don't know. It seems a bit strange.
The thing is, we had this conversation in the afternoon rabble yesterday, particularly about the new boy and his price tag. And I was quite, vocal that I felt there was an overabundance of negativity towards him because, as you said there, he's not the one that sets the £8 million price tag. You know what I mean? That's nothing to do with him. That's above him. And I get it when you come in with an £8 million price tag. It's going to, it's something people are going to look at. You can't get away from that. It's the same with Danilo. He came in with a £6 million price tag, and a lot of people are going, "What did we spend £6 million on Danilo for?" But the point I would make is at the time we signed Danilo, there was there wasn't the same level of seemingly outrage that we had spent £6 million on bringing Danilo in at the time. People were kind of like, well, this guy seems like a good player. He had minutes at his previous club, granted, which probably helps the situation in and of itself. But as Mark Driver said, the £8 million player, Chermiti, he's possibly going to have to hit the ground running if he's going to get fans on side very, very quickly, which I personally think is harsh on him.
It's going to be, but listen, you know how we as Rangers fans deal with things, Connor. There isn't any time. She's one of these. I mean, there's a lot of football clubs, they don't really give players a lot of time. But if you're coming in for £8 million, I would be concerned for the fact that we could have had Haaland up front, and we're not really creating enough chances. So he's going to be coming in with a massive price tag around his neck. He's injured. He's young. He's got all these negatives going for him already. I'm not saying this myself personally. I'm just picking these things out there that's in the ether. That's what people are saying about him. But we're not creating a lot of chances for our strikers. I've never seen this boy in the flesh whatsoever. I've not seen him any YouTube videos or anything like that at all for the guy. So I couldn't tell you what kind of player he is. He's 6'4", which I think for us having a good tall striker is something we've actually missed over the years. I mean, our strikers haven't really been excessively tall. So I think that'll be good. But then if you've got a 6'4" striker, are we going to pump the ball into the box for him? Because it's tippy-tappy. We don't really want to pump the ball into the box that much, and especially in Scotland. That's bread and butter for these defenders. So if he's not going to score, I'm not saying it myself, but he will get a lot of pelters straight on. No, people won't be willing to give him time, especially under the whole Martin stewardship as well. It's a toxic environment, isn't it? But we can only see.
It's a massively toxic environment. But listen, that again, I understand where people come from when they have those reservations. I mean, there's Martin, not that Martin, coming in saying what people are talking about. That there have been a number of people who've been quite vocal that they're not happy that we've spent £8 million on this player. And again, that's understandable. And I said this yesterday, right, because I took some pelters for it. People were coming in saying that I was accusing people of personally hating the guy, which I didn't do. I didn't say that people were personally saying, "Oh, this guy's an absolute." I'm talking about from a footballing standpoint. People are looking at this player going, £8 million? Really? Is that right? This guy's not going to be a good player, and I get all that. I absolutely sympathise with it, and it's going to be difficult. But as I said, you just have to keep seeing, and of course, you've got Majovski in there as well. I'd be worried, Alan, if we had sold Dessers and this was the only replacement that we brought in. I would be concerned. But Majovski at least gives something a bit there that you can hold, because he does know his way about the league. He has scored barrels of goals when his time at Aberdeen. We could have looked at him while he was there, but because he was at Aberdeen, you'd have had that. You'd had to have paid more money because you'd have been the Rangers tax, as it were, when you deal with clubs in Scottish football. So that at least gives a positivity. And if you've got the two of them linking together, Danilo obviously is your third choice. Personally, I'd have liked us to have got Danilo off the books in this window because he's an empty jersey in my opinion, and that might sound harsh. He's not done enough for me. But it is what it is. So you're hoping these two guys can stay fit, can be your Miovski's clearly number one striker, isn't he? Unless we're saying this £8 million guy's maybe long term he will be, but right now surely Miovski's your number one.
I would hope. Do you know the whole point, Connor? It's weird. It's just strange. You think you can't. We've spent £8 million on a guy, right? See if he was maybe 24, 25, you would maybe assume he's straight into the team for £8 million, but because he's young, I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't. It's been a really strange transfer window, considering the fact that everybody's addressed on the pod before. Pretty much all our defence is on loan and out of contract next season. It's bizarre because obviously when things roll round in the summer next year, we're starting from square one again. That's the thing that I'm concerning about, because it's like that's what everybody says: build a strong defence, and your team's pretty much sorted. We're going to go back to square one. We've got no left back. We've got one left back. If that young boy gets injured, I've said this before in the pod. I don't see why we didn't take a wee chance on Robbie Fraser. At least just keep him on the books. Low wages. Every time I've seen the wee boy, he was decent. He done decent when he went out and loaned at Livingston. And we've got one left back. We can say what we want about the Cornelius guy. He could be the best centre back that we've had in a long, long time. But playing at left back and playing as a left centre back are two totally different positions in the team. You know what I mean? You're expected to maybe up the pitch a wee bit more being a left back, but you're not really going to do that. Get a bomber up the wing a wee bit more if you're a central defender. But I don't know. I'm wanting to be positive and I'm wanting to look forward to things. For me, in my opinion, the best signing we have made in this transfer window has been Miovski, because you know what you're going to get with him. He can hold the ball up. He can take the ball on himself. He done more in that 10 minutes of the Old Firm game in Sunday than Danilo has in the last few weeks he's actually played. You know, he's just as you said earlier on, he's an empty jersey. I don't mean to be negative on the guy. That's the thing with Dino, because he has had a lot of hassle with his injuries and things like that. But he scored in the pre-seasons and he doesn't really do much after it.
Yeah, well, I don't think Leah will be happy with you there. Listen, Leah, I think we all absolutely feel that. You know, none of us want to be negative. We're all sick and tired of it. The problem is the club over the last couple of years haven't given us an awful lot to feel positive about, and so you're hoping amongst hope, obviously, that changes. And you know, I'm willing to give people a chance when they come into the club. Of course, that's the sensible thing to do. Writing people off before they started is pointless, right? You don't get anywhere with that, and that includes managers. Again, Russell Martin was my first choice as manager, but once he was announced, like I've done with every manager, I back him. I'm like, okay, you're in now. Let's see what happens. Do the job. Results have not then followed that, which means you now get to criticise them and say, well, hold on a minute here. What is going on? Right. Let's turn to some of the questions, because there's a few that have came flying in. Let me try and start with the earliest one, because that's only fair. Aldo was the earliest one. He said, is everyone happy with the transfer window? As a whole, it's a lot of incomings, Alan. Quite a few outgoings as well, it has to be said. Some big outgoings. Igaman and Dessers, I mean, that's the guts of your attacking lineup for last season going.
Yep.
Do you know, is it a case, actually, Alan, that see if the results in August had been better, that we'd all be feeling a bit happier about it? Because when you consider the fact that actually we've definitely had a better transfer window than Celtic. I mean, they've had a bit of a disaster, particularly yesterday, because they were getting deals swooped on them left, right and centre. They've got a player rejecting them, Alan, to stay at Charlton. I mean,
I've seen that.
You know, and again, we're still ahead of us, though. They've still had the results, so they can definitely console themselves with the fact that we've been mincemeat in the park and they've at least won games. If we had been winning games as well, I think we might be feeling a bit happier given the amount of business we've done.
I know, but Connor, put it this way, right? Would you rather be sitting where Celtic and sitting right now with a poor transfer window, or sitting where we are? I would rather be sitting where they are. I would just rather be sitting where they are. I mean, at the end of the day, they've got a manager that at least he knows what he's doing as well. I mean, I'm not going to turn around and say, oh, Russell Martin get a draw in an Old Firm game, oh, everything's all right, everything's forgiven, because I just don't have any faith in his football style. That's what it fundamentally comes down as. I don't know how many of these signings are actually going to be Thelwell's or Russell Martin's. You know what I mean? I don't know. The Charmetti guy, that seems to be Thelwell all over the back for signing that boy. But
he spent £14 million on him at Everton as well, which
is this going to be the sort of the model that we're going to do with transfer windows? Or are we not going to be shy and thinking, right, okay, that guy's worth £9-10 million, are we just going to go out and spend players like that? I think spending for me, Hunter, personally, I would rather we went and spent £9 or £10 million on an experienced centre back. That's where I would rather have spent that amount of money. But as I said, it's not the boy's fault. He's worth £8 million. He's been bought for £8 million. But obviously, with Biggerman leaving and Dessers leaving, we have needed another striker. But there are options out there for maybe not £8 million. Yeah, but they're saying it's getting pushed up to maybe £10 million. I mean, that's a hell of a lot more money considering it's going up to actually 8 to 10. But listen, mate, we can only see everybody says on this pod Everton is negative. But you've not had anything to really show you being positive. I mean, we're only looking at this through one spectrum of things, and it's a bit crap that we've got to wait 2 weeks now to see what the new signings are actually going to do now, because an actual break in.
Absolutely, and by the way, Leah, I 100% agree with you. Absolutely 100% agree with you, and that is exactly the arguments I was making yesterday, and I was getting a lot of pushback, and that's fair enough. Listen, this is an opinions business. People are going to have different opinions, and that's entirely their right. And there was a number of people who agreed with me and a number of people who didn't agree with me. It just happens to be that one or two of the people who disagreed with me were a bit more vociferous about it, but that's for them. Now, I agree, that there's been a bit of consternation about what type of player he is, or if he's a good player or a bad player. You don't know. None of us have seen him. He's not met up with the team yet. He didn't get a lot of game time at Everton through one reason or another. He had injury problems as well at one point, which obviously didn't help him. And then even when he wasn't injured, clearly other people were favoured him for him. Bear in mind as well, last season at Everton, he would have been behind Dominic Calvert-Lewin, which is difficult because even though Calvert-Lewin himself had an injury record, he's almost considered a bit of a club legend at Everton. And for me, any manager was always going to look to start him first, probably. So it is what it is. And also, Stuart Balmer, just to correct the record there, I do not hate Danilo. I liked Danilo. I want him to do well, but what I've seen thus far in the season from him hasn't been good enough. And that goes for a lot of the other players, but there's been a noticeable difference in certain games where he started and then we took him off and brought on Dessers, for example. And it's the effort, it's how much are you getting involved in the game. Danilo, for me, disappears too much. For all the criticism people had of Cyril Dessers, he never ever disappeared or hid away in a game. He might have lacked in quality at times, but he was always running his socks off. Whereas with Danilo, I felt that there's times where that's happened. But I don't hate him. I hope he can turn it around and do well. I really do, because it would be very good for all of us. To say the least, it would be good for all of us, because then if you can have all three of your strikers starting to fire, then
he's getting slated in the comments here, Connor. a lot of people, for the looks of the comments, aren't really a fan of Danilo. So it's
no, which again, that's because he's not shown enough to justify. And again, that comes with that price tag we've been talking about with Chermiti. He'll be the same if he doesn't. Now again, it's not his fault. The price tag. It's not Danilo's fault. The price tag. But if Chermiti at least performs and you can see improvements in him, then people will be happy enough. With Danilo, I know he's had injury problems. I know that. He broke his face scoring a goal against St Johnstone when he just came back from injury, and then he had his knee injury as well. We get that, right? And that's not been ideal for him. Absolutely, you've got to take that into account. But he's over that now. He is 100% fit, and if this is as good as we're going to see out of him, it's a concern. That's all I would say. It's an absolute red flag. But listen, we'll see. Next question, Maestro. It's a good question for Maestro, actually, Alan.
Very good.
Where are the leaders that Martin promised us? It's a fair question, because I feel, Alan, as if we've not signed an awful lot of experience. In fact, most experienced player we've signed in this transfer window is probably Joe Rothwell. through his time down in England, and then maybe Miovski just behind him. I don't see that as where's the leadership there, because what we've not done outside of Miovski is signing, and again, Lyle Cameron, I'm putting to aside because he's a young lad, so you can't really put him in the experience bracket. We've not signed anyone other than Miovski who's proper experienced player in Scottish football, understands the landscape, knows what he's doing. And I think it's important that you get a player like that in a transfer window. I think it helps massively. That's not happened. Russell Martin said that, there were conversations where he spoke about leaders that he was going to bring in. Not seen it.
Well, he can pinpoint a lot of leaders, but it might be a case that they're not coming. So you can only buy players that want to come in. But I agree with you. Rothwell, probably maybe the only one who's got the main experience. Maybe Cornelius, what age is he? Is he 26, 27 or something?
Oh, yeah.
So he's not a young boy. He's not a young boy. So it's not as if he's coming in and he doesn't really know what he's doing. He's figuring things out. So, but you never know. One of these guys might just. I'm old on you, Connor, right? But I like seeing football players shouting and bawling at each other, right? I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but I like seeing football players communicating with each other on the pitch. I don't like heads down and not saying anything. I like organising and I like all these things. So you never know. One of these guys might just come in and think, no, do you know what? We don't know what these guys are like personally. I mean, this Chermeta guy, he might be an absolute massive character in the dressing room. He might start kicking. I mean, he's only a young boy, but look at Raskin. Raskin's technically still a young boy for a football player, and he's no shy about saying things. But this is just one of these things, though, mate. Isn't it? Russell Martin promises a lot of things. He also promises a nice style of football that we've not seen yet either. So I'm in the frame of mind that Russell Martin says a lot of things and doesn't really back it up. So look at how he dealt with the whole Raskin thing. Oh, everyone's training, but he was being fly. Raskin was training. He was training with the B squad and all that type of stuff. So he being fly. So I'm still not happy. I don't. Nobody wants Rangers to fail, right? But I don't think we're going to go any further. See if these players don't start playing and he doesn't maybe implement the style and things that he's going to do. I mean, we did play differently against Celtic, and look how things were. Things were a wee bit more better. We weren't playing. John Shooter wasn't camped down the bloody halfway line for 90 minutes of the match, what they've bloody well been usually doing. So if if he does adapt his style a wee bit, we might see some better quality football. But for me, I'm not really happy about the lack of goals that have been scored. I mean, we've got Ant-Man, one of the best assists in Europe, and he's just regressed. I mean, what has happened to that guy? It's like it was, you know what I mean? He's not taking a man on. I don't know if he's. We don't really know. We're not privy to all these things that Russell Martin says to these players in training, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of emphasis about attacking that much. It's just keep the ball, and if something opens up, we'll go for it. But it seems to be a role reversal. We keep the ball, and other teams are just patient and just putting a ball right between the two defenders and scoring. So, as I said, I'm not really happy with this whole 2 weeks. I can't be bothered waiting 2 weeks. You know what I mean? It's going to be a wee bit torturous waiting 2 weeks.
It might be, but it could also be beneficial, is what I would say to that.
Time to work with them.
Time to work with them. Time to get people, buried into the squad and used to each other, and then you hope out off the back of that we come out and we're performing better. We need to, Alan. There's no question about it, because we're coming back from the international break, and the fixtures don't get me wrong, Celtic have got some tough away fixtures in Edinburgh as well, but we're playing both Edinburgh sides back to back at Ibrox, and the form we've been in and the form both of them have been in, they'll fancy it. I'm telling you, they'll fancy it. So we need to make sure we start getting it right in that meantime and come out, because my honest opinion is, Alan, if he fails to beat Hearts and Hibs, he'll be at the door before September's done.
Well, I know nobody wants Rangers to get beat, but if he doesn't beat Hearts and Hibs, it will be. I mean, if he thinks things are bad right now, he's going to need to get his mum to go into social media and tell him what the fans are saying about him, isn't it? Because things aren't going to be very good. You know what I mean? I don't believe for a second he's not got social media. I can't believe that. I think as a manager and things, you need to be aware what the fans are saying. You know what I mean? You need to be aware, because you can't just turn around and turn your ears off and think, oh, I'm just going to close my mind off and wondering what's going on, and I'm just going to concentrate on these things, because football fans have a lot of sway in how things are going. I mean, let's put it this way: football fans are going to be the ones that dictate if he keeps his job or not. Because we could turn around and say, oh, it's a rebuild, he's just new in the door, we're going to give him time. Every single Rangers fan on the planet could turn around and say, right, we're going to give him time. But we know that's not how it's going to work. And if we're not happy, he's going to find out that we're not happy. You know, already it's already starting right now with the disharmony about him being as a manager. So I'm hoping they're going to win, but I don't think we've got any divine right, mate, to think we're going to play Hearts and Hibs and just expect us to beat them, because that's not how we're playing nowadays. We can't expect to win, especially these teams are technically better than us in the league position. So we just need to hope we're better.
Well, yeah, the fact is he contradicts himself, Alan. I mean, even in Sunday there, his post-match, he speaks about how he can't control the outside noise, then goes on to explain exactly how he actually can control the outside noise. You know, he couldn't write it sometimes. You know, it's if you start getting results and you start winning games of football, people start to get on side very, very quickly with it, because that's what it's all about. And my biggest worry, right, I'm not one of these people, Alan, who is arrogant enough, right, or self-entitled enough to believe that Rangers have a divine right to never ever lose a game of football and to win every single game. Right? I get that, right? That is the nature of football. You don't have a divine right to that. You're not entitled to anything. However, the expectation at Rangers is certainly domestically, you've got to win the majority of your games, and dropping points is not acceptable on a regular basis, particularly when you start a season worse than anybody else. 4 draws to start the season. Now, admittedly, the last time Rangers drew their opening 3 games was 1989 under Souness, and Souness turned it around and won the league that year. So it's not impossible that things can change, but they need to change quickly. You know, it really, for me, is as simple as that.
I don't know. I mean, Souness is obviously different to Martin, isn't it? You know, there is more things going on behind the scenes with Russell Martin. It's the fact is that nobody wanted him. That's the big bugbear. Nobody wanted Russell Martin to come in as Rangers manager. It's like, oh, where's the fanfare? I can still remember Gerrard getting announced. It's like, all right, he's not getting any experience, but it's Steven Gerrard. You know, it's like, whoa, Steven. You know what I mean? They had that aura about him, but it's like, well, that's Russell Martin. It was the most deflated managerial appointment, because when Pedro and all that came, you didn't know anything about them. You know what I mean? You really didn't. You just thought, oh, as a guy, a foreign coach, we'll just need to see what happens. But it's like we've all seen Russell Martin's win-loss record and win percentages and how he's performed down south, and it's not been well. And this is what's happened. But I don't know, mate. It's the whole thing. You give him time, but I think he's had a lot of time. I think he has had time. And you're not seeing anything. That's the whole point. We've played about 10 games or something now, near enough, and you're not really seeing much of a muchness. That's the whole point. It's like there's no difference for when Clement left. That's the main.
And following in to that conversation nicely, Stuart Balmer had put in a question as well. Do you think the fans can maybe just get behind the team after the break and just put up with Martin, see what it takes us? Negativity from the stands won't help anything. Well, I mean, as we've discussed there, Alan, you know, the sentiment behind it is laudable, but if you're not getting results, you can't stop the anger that's going to come for the stands. I mean, if you go out against Hearts and you get beat or you draw, the fans are going to boo you. And if you do the same against Hibs, the same will happen again, because you can't have this team going into late September without a win. That is unacceptable by any managerial standards. No manager, as bad as we've had them, not Michael Beale, not Philippe Clement, not Pedro Caixinha, not even Graham Murray, right, has had anything remotely close to like this run in this start. And so that's where it comes to. I agree. I'd like to see the negativity drop. I'd like to see us just see what happens. It's not going to happen, no, is it?
No, that's the whole point of our fan base, is that nobody likes being negative. I don't like being negative because it gets to the point it's like, I'm just fed up. It just gets to the stage you're just fed up. But as we said earlier on, Russell Martin came to Rangers with a negative balance in my mind. You know what I mean? He didn't come with 0. He came with like -10 or whatever. If you're going to score these things, he's not came with a lot of love, and he's starting for under the bottom to try and get somewhere that the fans have actually done. And nobody's seen anything. See if everybody, I don't want Russell Martin, I don't want him, I didn't want, and he came here and we won 2 games, things would be a wee bit different. But the fact is, nothing's improved. It's the most boring, turgid football to watch. It just is. That's what really annoys me. It's like, oh, we're going to do all these things. He talked himself up as if he was going to be the new. I'm not going to say new Pep, because Pep's football's boring as well. But he talked as if we're going to play this. I know, but as if they're going to play this attacking football and all these things. And it's like, I've said this in the pod before, all it seems to be is John Souttar's got the ball. He gives it to Rothwell gives it to John Souttar gives it to the right, whoever's playing beside him. He gives it to the right back. He gives it to it's just boring football to watch. And as a team, see, if I'm a football manager, I'd just let them keep the ball, because they're not doing anything with it. It's not
there's times you invite the pressure on, innit? But I guess that's, and again, that's the style.
But it's not as if you've watched games yourself, mate, and they've got the ball and it's like they're paying passes and they're like, way, you know what I mean? It's that's not the type of football that we're playing. It's just like keeping the ball to keep the ball, and it's like we've got 2 great wingers. Gassam's great. I think Ant-Man is good. Finlay Curtis is a good wee player, but they're not really doing anything. It seems to be the whole midfield's just getting bypassed, and I thought I was expecting big things for Asgard as well, but I've not really seen. I mean, I know he's probably played a couple of games. He's only played a couple of games, but I've not really seen much in him at all, in an attacking threat. And I thought that's primarily what he was going to be doing for us. And then you're sacrificing a good player like Raskin for Rothwell, who's as soon as he walks onto the pitch, he's blowing at his lungs. You know what I mean? He's done in. It's like just some strange things going on, but. We've got 2 weeks to try and psych ourselves up and have a false positive until we see the game against Hearts, aren't we? So that's the only thing we can really do.
Well, absolutely. Look at some of these other questions coming in. Douglas Nicol, is Raskin going to get a year's extension? Not sure.
No, I don't think so. I'm glad
Russell Martin fancies him for one reason or another. There's been a definite clash there between the two of them.
I know, but you heard Neil McCann saying that Raskin does question things, and obviously Russell Martin's the type of guy that doesn't like to get doesn't like to be questioned. But that's not really how you should be seeing things as a football manager. You should want your players to question you, and you should want them to ask questions and find out what's going on, and because you can't just blindly tell somebody to do something, and if they don't understand. They need to ask questions. I mean, you've done it yourself. Somebody said something, you thought, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'll just do it anyway. And that seems to be what a lot of the players are doing, because you can see sometimes they're lost out there. They don't know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And Raskin's obviously maybe the fall guy for turning around and saying stuff. And words have been exchanged, and that's what Neil McCann said. He said that he had fiery discussions with Raskin, but that's what I want from my players. I want players to be fired up and speak back and have some passion, because that's what it is. It's just passion about being a football player. And nowadays, they don't seem to get it. They don't care. Win, lose or draw, they're getting their money in their bank. Doesn't matter. That's just the attitude for football players nowadays. It's all about the money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're actually slightly over time, but there's a few questions we still got to get through here.
We're determined to get them ready, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got to do it. Just a quick one then, Alan. Do you think Barron will take Rothwell's place in the team after his performance in the Old Firm?
We'll need to make the answers quick, right? Yes, I would hope so, because I thought Barron was great, and I'm not really a fan of Rothwell. Next question.
Yes, I would agree.
Exactly.
Was selling Dessers a mistake?
For me, no. I think it was a good return on him, and the guy was just getting pelters. I mean, I wasn't a fan of Dessers at the start, but you hated to love him, and then you loved to hate him, and then you hated to love him. You know what I mean? It was one of these things with the guy. But I think getting the you see, at the end of the day, he wanted to leave. but he done the right thing. He played his last game. I think Russell Martin should actually have told people that he was leaving so he could maybe get a wee round of applause. He could have got a wee something that when he came on for the game, just something to reward his hard work, shall I say, because his goal record was good. But if somebody's going to give you that money for a 30-year-old, you can't really turn it down unless they're world class.
No, absolutely. Do you think? Good luck answering this in a word or two. Do you think if Rangers fans we overthink players we buy in before we even see them play? I think we always have. To be honest, actually, I think we've had quite a lengthy discussion on that earlier on in the show. And I think there is a broad consensus that, yeah, we do. But when you come to a price tag...
I'll admit it, I do. We do.
Yeah. Just the two questions left. Do you think we're stronger now than we were this time last season? I think on paper you could argue that case. Yeah. But in practice, we don't look at...
I think defensively we are weaker. I think that's one of the things.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So maybe in the attacking phase, we've maybe got more players that are a wee bit more, as you said, on paper, maybe more attack minded. But the defence does concern me. That's the thing.
I think the defence concerns me. I think we're weaker in the defence. I think the midfield's stronger because we've actually got good depth and cover in the midfield, which last season we had a few midfielders, but we didn't have a quality of depth, which is why you saw a lot of benches with young lads on it. So I'm pleased about that. And I think the strikers, time will tell whether or not Majowski and Chermiti are going to be upgrades in Dessers and Igaman. It's hard to judge that right now. I think Majowski will be perfectly fine. I don't think there'll be an issue there. Chermiti, the jury's out on. Final question, Robert Binney. How long will Martin last? Well, we said it there, Robert. If he doesn't beat Hearts and Hibs, for me, I don't see a justification for him to stay beyond September. If he can start picking up results, then obviously he'll stay in the job.
I think September for me, sort of corner, is the sort of golden mark. I think see if you can maybe get a manager rid of round about late September, you can maybe try and claw things back. I think see if you get into January and things are just not going. You've not got a lot of time to bed in a new manager, bed in a new system. But I think if a new manager comes in with September, you can get a good bounce off it. The league's obviously only started for about just over a month, but it depends. I mean, we never know. It could go on a run, and we could play well, and then it could just be absolutely honking again, or we don't know. We've not got a crystal ball. In my mind, I would like him to go because I just don't think long-term future he's good for the club. I just don't think he's got it as a big time football manager to manager. I mean, let's face it, Russell Martin, Rangers are still a big club, institutional, one of the biggest clubs all over the world. But I just don't think when you look at Russell Martin's CV, for me, just an idiot fan, I don't think he was the right appointment. But Thelwell and all that have decided that he is. But what can we say? We're only the fans, you know.
Yeah, and that's coming from another fellow member of the vegan fraternity, by the way, just so you know. So
I'm not vegan. I'm not vegan. I've discussed this a million times. I am
the vegetarian fraternity.
A massive difference between vegans and vegetarians, right?
Fair enough. Okay, that will do us, folks. We'll be back tonight for a members show at 7 o'clock, I believe it is. So make sure you're tuned in for that. I'm sure the guys will go in depth again on loads of other stuff. Probably do a bit more of a deep dive into the two new boys that came in yesterday because they'll have more time to do that. And obviously anything else that comes up, I suppose. I mean, it's always funny when you're in an international break. You know, we've got a few things now, and as time goes on, obviously the afternoon Rabble will be back tomorrow at 12:30. Hopefully Martin will be back in the hot seat by then. I think he should be, all going well. But as I say, before that, you've got your show tonight and you've got your morning Rabble tomorrow. So make sure you tune in for both of those. My thanks to Alan for joining me. I've enjoyed that wee chat there. Don't get on often, so it's nice to have a different face. And until then, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday afternoons, and we will see you very, very soon.